All right, guys, it's confession time here. I hate planning. I hate planning my day. I don't like sitting down, scheduling. Now, I like results, so I still do it, but I don't like the process of actually thinking through all the things that have got to get done during the day. I'm much more intuitive about how I want to go about my day, but like I said, it's undeniable. The results that I get are much better when I take the time to plan out my day. So this whole episode is going to be about how to plan your day. It's also getting us in the right mindset. I'm going to talk about some of the things that have held me back over the years from wanting to plan my day, and how I'm starting to turn the corner to where I'm really seeing a need for this, especially as I own my own business now, and my days don't always look the same as they used to. Okay, let's go to work.
Duty, honor, country dictate what you ought to be, what you can be, what you will be.
The destiny of man is not measured by material computations. When great forces are on the move in the world, we learn we're spirits, not animals.
Now we are the masters of our fate.
Howdy, gents. Welcome back to another episode of the Wolf and Iron podcast. I'm your host, Mike Yarbrough, founder and curator of wolfandiron.com, and I'm glad you're here. Men, be sure to head over to wolfandiron.com/planning to check out any show notes, any book recommendations I have for this episode. So this episode feels a bit strange for me because I have sort of a love-hate relationship with planning. I'm not naturally a scheduler or a planner, and the love-hate relationship works like this. I hate sitting down and doing it, but I love the results. Now, I'm more of an intuitive, kind of creative individual, and I sort of intuit my day. I have a general idea of the things that I want to get done, and this is my default personality. But I don't necessarily want to sit down and itemize all the different things that I've got to get done that day and have a little checklist and make sure I get everything done. That excites me zero. Now, I know guys are out there that are listening to this, they go, are you kidding me? Like, this is how people become successful. This is what all the brilliant minds in history have done. And I get that. So that's why I do it. Once again, I like the results, but I don't like the process. But I'm starting to come around on this. So this episode, I want to talk you guys through some of the issues that I have with planning, try to get inside my mind. And I'm doing this mainly so they can help you guys out as well, because I know that there are creative individuals out there that feel very much the same way as I do about planning. And so I want to kind of open this up that, maybe it's okay for our particular personality types to actually not like this that much. But I also want to drive us towards the importance of doing it anyhow and beginning to really enjoy the fruits of it. And if we can enjoy the fruits of planning, then I think we can really enjoy the process all the more. Now, the first problem that I run into is this. If I like the results of planning my day, why don't I enjoy the process of doing it? And I really don't have a great answer for this. I have some examples, maybe some anecdotes, but I don't have a real solid answer for this. I really just chalk it all up to just personality. And it's sort of like we like the results when we go to the gym, right? We go to the gym, we work out, we hit it hard, and we feel great afterwards. But it's that time before, right? Thinking, I really don't feel like going. You got 100 different excuses, but you should go anyhow. And so you can eventually transition to a kind of person who craves the gym, who needs the gym. They need that routine in their life. And so if you've experienced that, then you're good. You're a step up in the right direction. Planning can be sort of the same way, and I think I have some of those same issues. But I think maybe there's even a deeper philosophical kind of reasons why I don't like to do it. And I'll start with this. It's sort of like fate versus destiny. Okay? So we're getting deep here already. We're talking about fate, talking about destiny. Let me separate these things out because you guys may not be familiar with these terms, especially in how they're different. Fate is the thing that is going to happen. Okay, it's fated to be. It's especially for people who believe in sort of a deterministic universe. They think that everything is just an effect of a cause. So the Big Bang happened, and everything essentially is just an escalation of cause and effect, so on and so on, until we eventually get to where we are today. And actually, these very words that I'm saying, the way my brain is wired, everything was fated to be. And so fate is the thing that you can't escape. It's fate, right? And so people will say, don't tempt fate. Well, it doesn't really matter if you tempt it or not, because fate is fate. That's the whole point of it. Destiny, on the other hand, is the thing that's out there that you could potentially become, but it's really up to you and your decisions. So this kind of goes into the whole, both of these are kind of like similar to the God's sovereignty or our free will, and which side do we kind of lie on with that. But destiny is the thing that could be taken up if you're bold enough, if you're brave enough, if you're willing to do it. So I think about destiny like this: the king gives up his son and sends him off to basically hiding out into the woods to be raised by some peasants somewhere, because the king knows his life's in danger and somebody's going to try to come and kill his son or something along those lines, right? So son grows up, becomes an awesome kind of stature of a man, except he probably smells like manure. But that was common in those days, so not that big of a deal. And then the king dies at some point. Some rider comes on through the woods and says, "Hey, I'm looking for the heir to the throne," right? And this guy has no idea that he's a prince, essentially, and he has the ability to become a king. And so his destiny is before him, right? He can say, "I either want to take this up or no thanks. I'm just going to continue, living out here, living off the land, doing my thing my way." Now, I'm much more in the destiny track. I like the destiny idea. And maybe it's because I grew up sort of poor and there was always something better to be had out there, I thought. Now, if someone knew that they were fated to become a king, maybe they'd want the fate track and not the destiny track. I don't know. Maybe they both kind of actually work together in some sort of way. But the point is, there's a desire for everybody to have more of a free will control over their life. And when we begin to put things down on paper, what we often see is that a lot of our life is actually controlled for us. There are certain things that we just have to do. We got to go to work. We have to get up at a certain time. We got to take the kids to school, or we got to go grocery shopping, or we got to do whatever the things are in life that just make life work. And when someone who's a big free will enthusiast who loves to see their kind of design their own path ahead of them, I hate to see that. I don't like to see my whole life kind of sort of planned out. Now, we all know that life doesn't really work according to a plan that we set on a piece of paper. And that kind of leads me to my next point. Now, I'm going to use a good example for this here. Heroes and villains. We've all seen this story a number of times. This has been played out on TV, it's been played out in the movies, and it goes something like this. The villain is sitting in prison or he's in hiding somewhere, and for the last 2 or 3 decades, he's been making this elaborate plan on how he's going to get back at the hero, and he's going to take over the world or the city or the girl or whatever the case is. And here comes the hero, just sort of clumsily along, stumbles into this, and he's just sort of like, I'll figure it out as I go, right? And, in the matter of a 30-minute show or a season or a 2-hour movie, he basically undoes all of the heroes or all of the villains' plans just by kind of winging it, right? And I think that's a very kind of American sort of cowboy way of going about it. And no doubt there's been some influence there as well. But nobody wants to be the villain, the nerdy villain, right? And it would really suck if the hero was like, okay, here's my 3-point plan for how I'm going to defeat the villain. I mean, nobody wants to hear that, right? So if you want to be a hero, the thing we've learned is you just wing it. And it's not only is it cool, but it also shows that the hero is just sort of ready for whatever comes his way because he lives his life that way. Now, I think about John McClane from Die Hard, played by Bruce Willis, and then, Hans Gruber, right? So Hans has this elaborate plan for how he's going to take over the Nakatomi Tower, and he's going to do all these things. And you guys have seen the movie. If you haven't, you should. But Bruce Willis sort of gets thrown into this kind of thing, and he's like, I'm just going to take these guys out in my own sort of way. And, just wings it, basically, barefoot and all. And he ends up saving the day. He wins. Spoiler alert. But you think, I want to be the John McClane. The problem is that if we look at later Die Hard films, we see that John McClane's personal life is just an absolute wreck. I mean, he's like saved the world or something, but his personal life is a wreck. And so his ability to actually plan out his day would have actually been probably something nice to do, right? To plan dates with his wife or plan, times away with his daughter or plan time off of work or whatever. So if you want to be a John McClane, then, you can, but there's a downside to doing that. Nobody wants to be Hans, except, they may want to have his cool voice. But other than that, that's pretty much it. So those are some thoughts on why I think maybe I'm sort of programmed, and along with my personality type, to really not like this whole planning thing. But at the same time, I found that when I do plan, my day goes much better. I get more things done. And I've even found that if I plan in time for spontaneity, which sounds kind of strange, but plan in time to just have thoughts, spontaneous, sort of just miscellaneous time to do what I want to do, that actually solves a lot of the creative desires that I have of sort of to have an unplanned day. So there can be kind of a good mix there. But let me tell you guys about how I'm coming around on this. Let me tell you guys about why I'm starting to change my mind about planning, because there was another piece to this that I think was always impacting how I thought about scheduling my day. And this was especially true when I had a job, but it didn't have to be. So growing up, we all pretty much are under the tutelage of parents or the control of some higher authority, and our days are very much determined for us. You're going to go to school. When you come home, you got chores to do, so on and so forth. And I think that we kind of go into adulthood with an outlook of, look at all the stuff that I have to do. Look at all the things that are being forced upon me. And I don't even want to think about it. I really don't even want to think about how long this project at work is going to take and all the stuff that we have to accomplish before it gets finished. I don't want to think about how many times a week laundry needs to be done, or how often I need to mow my grass. I don't want to think about changing the air filters in my house and putting that on my schedule. Geez, it's just another thing I got to do. Now, once again, some people really like this. They like the idea of sitting down and almost like a puzzle of their life. Let me see if I can figure out all the things that I need to do in my life to be, to live successfully. But not everybody does. But here's something that everybody likes. We all like control. So whether you're a complete lunatic planner, scheduler person, or you're somebody who wants to have more freedom, we both want the same thing, actually. We both want control. And the way the control works for the person who's naturally inclined to plan is that they're hoping that they can identify all the things that are going to go on in a day, and that those things are going to happen according to their plan. And so they feel in control in that way. On the flip side of that, for the creative individual, for the person that just sort of likes to intuit their day and just happy-go-lucky, let's just see what comes up, they want the control in the form of freedom. They don't want anybody or anything interfering with what just their natural inclination says for them to do. So we're both aiming towards the same thing, but only one of these things is really going to produce success, and that is having some sort of plan for your day. Now, I mentioned when we're young and into early adulthood, we kind of go with this mindset of all the things that we have to do, right? Well, I've begun to change my mindset on this, and it's become more of all the things that I get to do. Okay? Let me give you an example. When I was working typical job, there was a lot of things that I had to do. And I'm not saying that's the right mindset to have, but there were a lot of things that I had to do. But now that I've got my own business, it becomes it's much more clear to me that there are a lot of things that I get to do, because I get to go over the finances for my business, and I get to email customers about a growing business, and I get to have employee lunches, and I get to go out with my wife and have a husband and wife lunch, under the business kind of thing. So there are a lot of things that I get to do now that are much more apparent to me, but I could have had this same perspective when I had a job. And you can have this perspective too, even if you don't own your own business. You get to live in a free nation. You get to go to a job that pays you a decent wage. You get to pay your bills on time. You get to have gas in your car. You get to go on vacations occasionally. You get health benefits. You get all these things that you get to do that aren't necessarily forced upon you, but you actually have a tremendous amount of blessing because you get to do them. And so if you hate scheduling, maybe try to change your mindset. That's what I'm working on. Change your mindset around it to say, what are the things that I am so fortunate that I get to do, even if I don't like to do them? I don't like budgeting. That's not fun for me. My wife and I, we do it every week. And then once a month, we actually go through and just kind of go through everything that we've done for that month, whether it's for the business or it's for personal. And we go through that and we itemize everything and make sure it's all lined up and stuff like that. That's not fun for me. But when I sit down to do that, I have to think, I get to do this because I have the blessing of actually having money in the bank. And maybe one day I'll get somebody else to do it for me. And that'll be another thing that I get to do. And I'll get to have, shorter discussions maybe with somebody else. But we can have that sort of mindset change. And the same thing even goes with going to the gym. I get to go to the gym. I get to build my body. I have the opportunity to live longer, to control my health, right? Through decisions that I make. That's awesome. Okay. Now, if you're new to this whole thing, this whole scheduling thing, even if you've been doing this for a while, I want to recommend a book. And I think this is a must read. Even if you're not a Christian, you guys are really going to dig this thing because it's just so good. It takes a lot of it's not simply practical. It gets into the sort of philosophical side of why we do what we do and how to plan our day and how to prioritize the things that really matter the most to us. It's called What's Best Next, and it's by Matt Perman. And if you guys head over to wolfandiron.com/planning, you'll see a link out there for that book, What's Best Next by Matt Perman. You're not going to remember the title, so go head over there now. It's a strange title, but you'll get it once you read the book. I hope to have Matt on the podcast at some point to actually talk about this. But let me give you guys just sort of a glimpse of some of the things that it sort of stresses, the things that I think make it stand out. Matt does a really good job of kind of breaking down. He does this from a Christian perspective, but he does a really good job of breaking down, figuring out the things that actually matter the most in your day. So that when you're planning things out, you can go at this, you can look at your day and go, that doesn't matter as much as this other thing, Or if you do your scheduling and you find out that you've only got 45 minutes a day to spend with your family, and yet you know that family time is really, really high on your list of things that matter to you, you need to make some adjustments in your life. You get what I'm saying? And so Matt does a really, really good job of spelling all this out, but that's a book you guys need to read. And then he has some practical tips in there as well about how to schedule your day. And I'm going to steal a couple of things from there. And other people have done this as well. So especially if you're a creative individual, here's how to get your schedule on. You want to really think about your day in terms of blocks of time. And the best way to do this, you can download any kind of calendar, any kind of sheet, or you can just write it all on a sheet of paper. And you can basically just think about, okay, what are, first of all, the blocks of time where I'm occupied that are kind of out of my control. So you may have an 8 to 5 job, so you're just going to put in there, I'm at work. Okay. Now you may have some flexibility during lunch. And so if you think there's time during lunch, which I highly, highly recommend to make that useful, make that purposeful, do that. But the other parts of your day, you're going to want to put as sort of blocks. And this is especially for the people who are creative that need that space to kind of dynamically move throughout the day and not just get tied into doing the same thing over and over and over again. Okay, if you're anti-routine like I am, then this is going to be for you. Have blocks of time set aside for certain things. So you may have a block of time that's set aside, for example, if you're driving into work, you may have a block of time that's for listening to podcasts or listening to audiobooks or something like that, but you make that purposeful. Now, what you listen to, totally up to you. Or if you want to change that up and say, I don't want to listen to anything, I just want to jam out to some music, that's your call. Okay. Just don't jam too hard while you're driving. But have blocks of time set aside. If you want to have blocks of creative space, you can do that. So if you're really an artist type of person, maybe you're painting, you're drawing, you don't want to have a particular project that you're working on. You just need sketch space or brainstorming space or whatever the case is, block that time out. Okay. And what you're going to see is that your day begins to have more and more blocks of time that can be used more beneficially. And what I found when I was doing this initially was that I needed more time in the morning. I just needed more time in the day, period, because by the time I got home at, say, like 6 o'clock or so, it became family time. And so that becomes very much blocked out already for me. We're going to eat, we're going to do some kind of family stuff, maybe go somewhere, whatever the case is. And so I needed more time. And so that time became more and more in the morning. And so that's going to push you. If you guys really value your time, and you will when you do these exercises, you're going to really push yourself to get more time out of the day. And you're really going to begin to value every few moments, 15 minutes here, 15 minutes there, and you're going to realize you can actually get a lot of stuff done if you really begin to kind of block out your time that day. And so you're probably going to want to wake up earlier, get to the gym earlier, so that you have more time in the morning to do some stuff. Okay? So think about it in blocks of time. And you're just going to write this out, and you're going to put all these blocks of time, just the basic things that you want to accomplish during the day on a schedule, and do that for a week. And you're going to be able to see how much time you actually have that's free time during the week and where you have it. So this is the best thing about scheduling, is just knowing where you're wasting your time and where you actually have the ability to make up and make use of wasted time. So you guys know that I've written a book this last year. I do podcasts, I do the blogs, I do a number of things. I got a business that I'm growing. And I did all of this stuff while I was having a full-time job. Well, I'm not a big planner, but I did have blocks of time during the day that I knew I was going to work on stuff. So when I was writing the book, for example, I said, okay, I've got to write, umpteen thousand words, probably around 25,000 words or so. And I typically write X amount of words in an hour period. Plus I need time for research and things like that. So that means I've got to block out this many lunch periods during work in order to get the book done. That's not that hard to do. The same thing is true about some of the stuff that I do for Wolf and Iron. I say, okay, if I need to release X amount of podcast episodes or X amount of content, and it typically takes me however much time to do that, then I've got to block out that much time. Or I had to find something else because I really don't have that time available. You get what I'm saying? So finding available time is absolutely key. And then making the most of it. Okay, guys, get this. Every moment you have on this earth is absolutely precious. You will not get another moment like it back. And the best way to take advantage of that is to schedule your day and to plan your weeks out. And you want to do this by being effective. You want to focus on the things that matter most to you. Yeah, efficiency is important. That's how you get stuff done. But if you want to be effective in your own life, in your business, in your marriage, you've got to schedule your day so that you're the most effective kind of person. A lot of this is going to be around personal growth. And so you're going to be filling up those slots with, how am I bettering myself? Is this a chance for me to go to the gym? Can I get a run in? Can I get a bike in? Maybe I could take my wife or my kids along with me with some of these things. You get what I'm saying? Fill up that time. And if you got to ditch the TV, ditch the TV. Whatever you got to do, you guys want to make sure that you're using this space that you're wasting in your life as best you can. Okay. Now the next step, and this is something that I'm finding myself having to do more and more, is that you're going to want to sit down each morning and think about the things that you got to do specific to that day. Like for today, I had to call the bank. I had to call somebody about building a building. I had to call somebody else about building a building and canceling some appointment. So there's several calls I had to make this morning. I just want to get those things done. But if I just sort of, intuitively go about that, one of those things, if not most of those things, are probably going to get dropped until I just have some free time where they just float up to the top of my brain and I go, oh, I guess I could do that now. That's not going to work. Scheduling this podcast, actually recording this, was something that I wrote down this morning, and I said, I want to get this done. Now, I may fill up my day with things that I can't actually accomplish during a day's period. And some of those will just go on kind of the back burner or on the queue of stuff to do. And there are things you can use for this. There's Kanban. If you guys aren't familiar with that, it's sort of like a tool for going through incremental steps to accomplish tasks. And so there's virtual Kanban boards. You can do it, with a real sticky note kind of thing. We actually use a lot of Kanban type of stuff for the business, but Kanban, you guys can go check it out and see if that's a good fit for you. So it's kind of a way of just saying, here are bite-sized things that I can do during the day. And so it creates sort of a backlog and a queue of work to be done, but in small pieces that you can just sort of grab one and knock it out. But however you approach that, schedule your day and just get a list of things that you want to get done. And think about what are the time increments to accomplish that task. So if I say a phone call is going to take 15 minutes, that's 15 minutes of time. Where's it going to fit? Is it going to fit during my lunch? Can I get all these phone calls done during lunchtime? Or do I need to, kind of space them out during the day? This whole process, of sitting down and planning out your day will probably take about 6 or 7 minutes at the most, depending on how crazy your day is and how much you got going on. And once you've got it, just keep that list somewhere. Keep it in a book, or if you do it digitally, keep it on your phone and just refer to it. And as you go through there, just check it off. And here's what I like to do. Once I've got everything on that list done, then my day's freed up. I mean, except for the other things that I have to do, which never seem to go away, but my day is pretty much freed up. So if I do have some of that free space, which I very much guard, then I can use that to do what I want to with. Okay. Now, when you first start, the blocks might be the best thing that you can do. I've got a link out there in these show notes for this episode to Ben Franklin's daily planner. Okay, so Ben Franklin actually did this sort of blocks of time thing long before any of us came up with it. And he basically just says, here are some parts of my day that I want to devote to doing these things. And he really was very serious about sticking to a schedule. But when you look at it, it's not broken down in 30-minute segments or hour by hour or any of that kind of stuff. Now, my guess is he was a smart enough guy he sort of knew what was going on, or he may have had another booklet where he actually wrote down, like, what's happening today, who's supposed to show up in the shop and do some stuff or whatever the case is. And so that's kind of that second part that I was talking about. But if you just start with the blocks of time to get stuff done, that's step number one. Then go through and schedule your day out individually. Now, if you're able to do that, guys, in no time flat, you're going to begin to see tremendous results. Now, you still got to be flexible. You still got to have the little John McCain in there somewhere that's ready to take on whatever happens when it happens. But this is going to be the best way to kind of get things kicked off, and the easiest way without being a stickler to an hour by hour or 15-minute increment blocks of time to get stuff done. My guess is if that's your natural bent already, then you're probably already doing that, and you don't even need to listen to this podcast. And if that's you got some things to teach me, not the other way around. Okay. Guys, I hope this was helpful. I look forward to getting any kind of feedback that you may have on this episode. Tell me about how you schedule your day. Do you use like a bullet journal? Do you use a daily planner? Or how do you go about it? And if you have any tips, share them with me. I'll make sure the other guys get a chance to hear it as well. And until next time, keep your powder dry, and may a fair wind be always in your sails.